dig. Oh, no, okay.
And we're back with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. How is everyone there today? Thank you so much for listening. We are the #1 show on the Podcast Radio Network 3 months in a row. I'll tell you what, I still cannot believe that every time I say that, and I just cannot believe it. It's all because of you, and we thank you so much for listening to our program. #1, 3 months in a row on the Podcast Radio Network, every Monday night, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific on the Podcast Radio Network. We've also got our Friday show, the PCC Multiverse. That's available on the Podcast Radio Network, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, right there and then. And if you like either of the shows or you miss one of our shows and you want to download it, you can do so anytime at all by going to any one of these outlets: Google Play, iTunes, Stitcher, podcast.com, Mixcloud, the ESO Network, TuneIn, the Tangent Bound Network, the Gunny Geek Network as well, and also Overcast.fm. Any one of those outlets, it's now 10 strong at least, and it's growing hopefully week by week by week. You can just go ahead and download it. And when you do, we always throw in an extra podcast, or we try to anyways, in each and every episode that we put up there, the Pop Culture Cosmos or PCC Multiverse shows, just so that you can have a little bonus. It's our way of saying thank you for downloading the show. Could be a Humanican Media show, could be a Rob McCallum Films production, could be a Galaxy Far, Far Away, could be something from the Wine, Women, and Words, Game Source. You never know. We just add one on there as a bonus just because we like you so much and appreciate you for downloading our shows. So speaking of Humanican Media and all the great things we do, who is back here today but my good friend, the man, the myth, the legend, the evil creator of Humanican Media. It's Josh Pederson. How are you, my friend?
It's my diabolical laugh, you know. When you say evil, you have to add stuff in like that, or else it just loses the effect.
All right. Sorry, I did not. The evil mastermind.
There we go. One day we'll have our own soundboard and maybe a sound effect guy to click buttons.
Well, I'll tell you what. When this airs on the radio, I'll actually put it on there for you.
All right. I can live with that.
Okay, fair enough. So after the evil laugh has just played, what is going on with the evil production known as Humanican Media?
Hey, just business as usual, man. We got another Super Bro Station coming at you this week. I think we're playing the next episode as part of this show, and we have new What About This being recorded on Saturday, and a new Topicocalypse premiering Thursday.
Well, we actually have bits and pieces of it today on the program, and then also for downloading it, we're going to throw a segment from the latest Topicocalypse as well. So definitely appreciate everything that Humanican Media does for us. So it's definitely going to be great indeed. We're going to play cuts of the Super BS podcast and Topicocalypse later in the program. So definitely looking forward to that indeed. And we just want everybody to know out there, our great site, popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. Josh contributes heavily as far as reviews and gaming thoughts and reviews and whatnot on the gaming world, plus also movie reviews. I've done a few movie reviews and things about pop culture relating to movies, gaming, electronics, technology as well. So you want to check that out. But also we've had some really hard-hitting issues. Michelle Levis, obviously one of the, or probably our highest reading story was right after the presidential election, and definitely was something that was very timely and still, even today, still very timely and very profound. The letter that she wrote, that she published on our site, popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. And then also Diana Tierney. She has written a lot of great things as well for our site in regards to from pop culture, what have you, and also very, very strong thoughts in regards to feminism and also the written word as well. So definitely appreciate both them contributing as much as they can when they can. but also we've had a contribution this weekend from an individual. We cannot say we're protecting that individual's identity, but this in regards to some very serious issues as well, as far as domestic violence and whatnot. So that's touched upon. So if you're looking to find out more from a story that's very unfortunate to tell, but I think needs to be told, please check that out. popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. It's a couple great stories indeed. Josh, any thoughts on that?
Real quick, while we're on, I need to pick your brain on something real quick, all right? Yes. While we're on the topic of domestic violence, what do you think about the NHL, the media demanding reform from the NHL for NHL players getting angry and using offensive slurs, but they continue to praise football players who go home and like beat their wives and girlfriends? I was thinking about that heavily last night, and I'm kind of like, neither is appropriate, but I just like, I'm kind of seeing a double standard depending on the sport. It's just real quick, like what do you think of stuff like that?
And that's the problem. There are the four major sports here in the United States, which currently at the present time is baseball, football, basketball, and hockey. It's considered the number 4 sport. It's obviously not as popular as those three, but it still has its legs here in America. There's no beating around the bush. As long as there's no uniformity within the leagues, you're going to get diverse decisions that's been made. As far as Roger Goodell, I mean, he's been all over the map in his decision making. He's had a vendetta for Tom Brady as far as playing with the footballs, but yet they still have individuals there that have done heinous crimes as far as against domestic violence, that just very horrible things that are still playing in the league today. And yeah, some of them have served their punishment and whatnot, but still, I don't think they've served enough punishment as far as when you commit those heinous crimes indeed. And I noticed when you listen to the what about this podcast, when it deals with athletes or gods type format that you guys were talking about, I noticed as well the comments that were made as far as drug abuse and whatnot, or even marijuana. First infractions are more severe on some occasions than domestic violence issues. So this is something very real and very serious indeed. There should be some uniformity, and there should be some very, very serious actions. I know with baseball, it has gotten to the point with steroids and performance enhancing drugs and whatnot. When they're caught the first time, now it's gone like is it half the season, 60 games, something? It's a real big chunk of games on your first offense. That to me, it should be at least a minimum for someone who commits such a heinous crime. As far as that, at least half a season, at least if not more. As far as millions of dollars should be taken away, at least in regards to that. And that's just my opinion on it, because it's very serious and very heinous crime. The hammer should be put down indeed for any of those type of situations. Well, I understand though those others are bad as far as drug abuse, performance enhancing drugs, and obviously the gay slurs and ethnic slurs and whatnot are very serious and should also be reprimanded severely. But when it comes to domestic violence and abuse, there should be no tiptoeing through the tulips type deal, and there should be some harsh actions indeed. And unfortunately, a lot of occasions now they're more serious about it. All the sports leagues are now more serious about it than they were, say, 5 or 10 years ago, when the media was laughing at them for their really laughable decisions that were made. But there's still, like you said, on your podcast about the Cincinnati Bengals draftee Joe Mixon. Look what just happened there. Has he really served any real punishment for his crimes? I don't think he has. And I think there's a lot of others in the National Football League primarily, but also NBA, hockey as well, that really haven't served a true penance for what the wrongdoings that they did.
Right. And I see, of all the leagues, I see the NHL has brought the hammer down the hardest that I've seen, because you notice with Voinov, they told him no more, shipped him. He had to go back to Russia to play. You had Jared Stahl, who got caught with cocaine. He was out. Nobody wanted the Rangers. He went through all this stuff, the rehab stuff, and came back in for a bit. But the NHL, as far as, I'm not just saying because I'm partial to hockey, but it's just because actually read about their punishments. Like they take action. They may not be like the most strictest course of action, but they take action. Whereas all these other sports, like they continue to let people get away with things that.
And then it's also like the issue of Colin Kaepernick, and people were very offended by his actions.
Exactly.
I was offended by, his constant support of Fidel Castro, which I know really is not exactly it's a hot button as far as to the Cuban community as far as that's concerned. And he was supporting him but that's his right. He's willing to that's the great thing about a country. You're allowed to go ahead and express your beliefs. But look at, unfortunately, him now. He's now out of a job, and he cannot even get a job right now because he's been blackballed. But yet somebody who can go ahead and incur domestic violence, while they always seem to get a second chance. Am I mistaken on that realm as far as at least the NFL is concerned?
Yeah, no, you're not. So I mean, just what made this come to mind was the whole thing with Ryan Getzlaff saying something to the ref that just when he got worked up. And I'm not saying
I'm supporting Colin Kaepernick either way. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm saying that he did what he did, and now he can't get a job because there's several individuals in the NFL that are running around that did actually commit really, really super heinous acts against other individuals, and yet they're still, getting and lining up on offenses and defenses on first down coming up this season.
I know it seems like when it comes to professional sports, like the media especially has very, specific types of witch hunts that they go on. It's just, I feel like we need to have solidarity across like all these sports, just not just as, sport clubs or whatever, but as like a standard for American athletics, I guess.
But that's the problem. All the leagues are territorial. All the leagues are definitely influenced by their players' unions. So you've got a different standards with each and every players' union as far as what they want to do and how they want to treat it. So it's all over the map. So I don't think you're going to get ever all of them aligned unless it's federally mandated and federally overseen. And I don't know when that's going to be. And that day may never come indeed. So that sounds like what about this podcast right there, like an addendum almost. So if you're looking for hard topics like that to tackle, the guys at What About This and also Topicopolis, definitely they fit the bill on a lot of those great topics that they chew the fat on. I know on your latest Topicopolis, it's a little different though, isn't it? The one we're going to play a clip from later today?
Correct. This one is very car-centered. Just some interesting thoughts about cars that we'll never own, but they're still fun to talk about. It revolves around the Dodge, the SRT Demon, and the Camaro Hellcat, which is being made by I can't remember the company.
Camaro Hellcat, Chevrolet.
No, Chevrolet. I'm having a brain fart now. They make custom cars for Chevy. They used to do it for Dodge, but not anymore. But dude, I don't even know what I'm trying to say right now. If you would have not asked me that question, I would have been able to tell you just exactly what it was.
I was trying to look it up, but anyways, definitely some great topics indeed to talk about. That's Topicopolis, and you're actually going to get a taste of that later in the show. So right now we're talking about some good stuff going on. It's going to be a great show indeed. But I want to ask you this, Josh. I know you and
Hennessy.
I both.
Hennessy, that's the company. That's the company that's doing that. The Camaro is Hennessy is making it.
Hennessy. Okay.
Okay. No, go on.
All right. Fair enough. So I know you got a chance to check out the Vice.com challenge, Vice.com article that covers a great topic, which we definitely allude to on almost a weekly basis because we talk about it on almost a weekly basis, and that's the evolvement of the movie industry as far as maybe the movie universe deal is taken way too far. I know that they said that, I don't want to quote them word for word, but the inference is that movie universes may be bad for the film industry as a whole. So I want to hear your thoughts in regards to this. I know you've been adamantly against movie universes maybe just not being the way for original filmmaking to be made. So I want to hear more on what you think about movie universes, and do you really think that they're going to be downfall of the actual movie industry as a whole?
That's interesting because I know we talked about this, especially with King Arthur. How I was saying, though King Arthur's not 100% original, it's it was the most original idea that's been out for a while. I think that weird. So people are watching what Marvel's doing, and Marvel's been extremely successful, but that's different because that's a comic book, and those characters are meant to be together because they have always existed in the same universe. Whereas you have Universal trying to make their joint monster universe, and you have all these characters who were never meant. They were just meant to be standalone characters. They were never meant to join together. Like, I don't care to see the Mummy or Imhotep or whatever the girl's name is join with Dracula or Frankenstein. Like, I don't see how that could be interesting to me. It'd be just like watching Scooby-Doo and seeing the people from the Andy Griffith Show on there. It's just, it is what it is. But
Scooby-Doo's now, they're going to be doing. He's going to be doing some stuff with the guys from Supernatural, and I thought that was like.
I know, I was reading about that. They're going to do a cartoon episode. But yeah, it seems like this is all that we're getting. I know, yeah. Rappy.
Oh, don't you dare say Scrappy. Don't you dare. You'll be kicked off the show.
But yeah, I know this came up from the obviously it was the Alien Covenant article that they were talking about mostly. Did you have a chance to watch Alien Covenant yet?
No, I have not. I just finished watching King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, recently, and that was it's going to be my fill-in for filming for maybe a couple days because I had to breathe all that in. So let's just put it that way. So,
okay, I'm going to ask you about that again in a few minutes here. But Alien Covenant. Okay, so this. I know we touched briefly on this the other day, but yeah, what they're doing is, like, by the time Ridley Scott's done, there's going to be, 7 or 8 Alien films. And it's like we're so tied to these sequels. We're so stuck on these combined universes and franchises, and nobody is creating anything new. The indie filmmakers are the ones that are giving us our fill of original content. And then we've created this business model. Even Steven Spielberg has said it, that if we rely so heavily on these summer blockbusters, that if one of them were to fail, say like King Arthur did, or we have another John Carter, or say, God forbid, this Pirates of the Caribbean movie coming out this week ends up crashing and burning, that we're essentially putting the film industry is essentially putting themselves in a position to crash the entire the entire system, because they're so reliant on this movie to make money off of this. Like, if a Marvel film tanked and it was the only movie coming out that year, that would severely danger them financially, I'd imagine. So, I don't know. I'm curious. Like, I really want to get out. I want to write an article about this. I want to get out and talk to people and see how they feel about the idea of a franchise, because like Alien, Prometheus really went to some interesting places. And then with Alien Covenant, they just kind of erased the whole thing and in service of something we've already seen. So that's the problem with franchises, is that they keep showing us things we've already seen, like Predator, Alien, Avatar, I'm sure, whenever James Cameron decides to finally release that. But you know what I mean?
And there's a reason why that it actually performed below expectations. It looks like it's going to be hitting just over $35 million for the weekend, which may or may not, once the final adjustments are made, stay at number 1 for the weekend over Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Although that could be, like I said, adjusted once the Monday actual totals come out, could be flip-flopped, which definitely is disappointing indeed, because that's almost $20 million less in the original weekend that Prometheus did, which tells me that people are starting to hit some franchise fatigue already, even on this somewhat rebooted platform. So if that's the case, maybe that doesn't spell good news for the Alien franchise and Ridley Scott's plans going forward. Now, mind you, it was less of a cost than, let's say, King Arthur Legend of the Sword, like almost half the cost of that, as far as closer to 100 million than the King Arthur costing close to 200. So that may save it, and also as well, some good international numbers could actually still enhance further editions of the franchise going forward. And plus, Alien is always going to get a better break than most because of its long history. But we just heard here today earlier that there's the Resident Evil franchise is being considered for a 6-movie reboot from Sony, which I didn't say was out of the realm of possibility. In fact, I even mentioned on a previous podcast I thought that could be the case between Resident Evil or Underworld, although both being revived would not be out of the realm of possibility. But it's definitely looking more and more like a Resident Evil 6 rebooted franchise. But does the world really need those type of franchises? I mean, it just seems to be a fixation by these movie industry types to have these consistent, what they think is money-making machines where they can create a whole world and a whole universe that fans have to stay tuned to watching from point A to point Z. But the problem is, in the case of a lot of them, they're not staying in tune. So most fans don't want to see what happens from point A to point Z after they watch the first 1 or 2 films. It's just not keeping their interest. But with Universal trying to do the movie Universe trying to do its own monster universe, Sony trying to do its own Spider-Man universe, and so many others trying to develop their own movie universes, it's just really kind of ridiculous. And they're not, and DC still hasn't gotten it right with their own movie universe. And even Marvel, when it comes, it's had its high and low points in its own universe, but they're one of the better examples of a movie universe that people keep wanting to come back to time and time again. So I think everybody's trying to grab that brass ring to what Marvel has or what Star Wars has. And there are very few that can actually do that. Fast and the Furious is still going strong with its universe, kind of, so to speak. Transformers, there's also as well Jurassic Park, obviously that's still a very strong franchise indeed. So I don't know, everybody seems to want to latch onto that really high level of movie universe and create that whole interweb that people that they think that movie audiences will be able to stay in tune to. But as you can see, with a lot of them, there's already franchise fatigue already.
Yeah, and here's my thoughts on this. I think that The Dark Tower will be the last, I guess, hope for original concepts, or a non-franchise based film. If Dark Tower doesn't do well, then that's just going to prove that we're right about what it is we're saying right now. And it's dangerous because you have, like Resident Evil, we're talking, you have 6 movies, so they want viewers to go from 1 all the way to 6, but say like 3 or 4 is awful, and then that makes it so you're spending all this money on 2 or 3 other films that nobody's going to want to watch because you left that bad taste in their mouth. And who was really clamoring for a reboot to Resident Evil? Because I know that those numbers, though it made back its budget, those numbers were still very low for.
Because was it Anderson, which director Paul Anderson was really he made okay. His wife A was the leading star. That's always a great thing. And B, he just basically was very frugal in the way they spent money and had the special effects that, okay, were not the most realistic in the world and kind of look corny at times, but they had a wink, wink, nod, nod the entire time to the whole franchise. But even they, with all the international numbers that it did, that's where they really became strong as one of the first franchises to really start hitting home worldwide. But they actually, their numbers even dwindled. This latest offering, the final offering with Anderson and Mila Jovovich, just did not perform. But still, their break even point was so low comparative to other big budget action films, is that it looks like it still will end up paying off. And overall, it's $1 billion franchise overall. So no one can say they didn't do a good job with that. And obviously Sony's trying to rekindle some of that magic down the road.
Right. And it's, whether or not it'll work, we'll just have to see. But it's, it makes me sad that we're not seeing, we're not just seeing a lot of franchises, but we're seeing a lot of rebooted franchises. Because I know Lionsgate has been discussing heavily for the past couple years rebooting the Twilight saga and also the Hunger Games saga. So it's a franchise is one thing, a joint universe is one thing, whatever, we'll see if it works. But when you start rebooting properties over and over again instead of
so soon,
instead of investing in something new, because there's plenty of great books out there, there's plenty of great novels that people like to read, plenty of great comic books. I don't understand it. It's like that old saying, if it's broke, don't fix it. But like in the film industry, it's like, if it's not broke, then let's beat it to death.
And Lord of the Rings, even though Lord of the Rings, the universe there and the Hobbit universe connected made a ton of money, and every edition still made a substantial amount on each and every edition. By the end, Battle of the Five Armies, I could sense that even fans and moviegoers out there were kind of fatigued on it as well. And basically, if there was another one that would have come out, I think it would have just suffered from exactly that, just some real fatigue indeed. What are everyone's thoughts out there on movie franchises? Are you okay with it? Do you like getting yourself invested in a universe from point A to point Z, or have you had enough outside of the Lord of the Rings, the Fast and Furious, the Star Wars, the Marvel, some of the more popular movie franchises? Are you tired of seeing every single film that's almost seemingly put out week on a week have the plans going forward to try to tie into a universe of some sort? Let us know your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com, plus also as well Humanica Media, Game Source, and Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook and Twitter as well. Well, again, I said it's going to be a great show here today. We appreciate, again, you listening to us. And first off, we've got a great song right here coming up from our good friend, Chad and Hyperschmidt. This is about to win. We're coming up with a great episode here today because this is the Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're back with the Pop Culture Cosmos. My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly appreciate you listening out there each and every Monday night, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific on the Podcast Radio Network. And we truly appreciate you being a part of the Pop Culture Cosmos itself. Any questions to us as well, just send it along, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com or Pop Culture Cosmos Humanica Media, or Game Source on Facebook and Twitter as well. So, Josh, I know you've been scouring the internet as you always do. You've been taking a look at everything that's going on out there, but I want to know your thoughts on Destiny 2. Have you seen the most recent gameplay footage out there?
Yes, I have watched the trailers.
And the initial gameplay on it, they showed even a little basic raiding action and whatnot. Seems to be a little bit of an upgrade from what we saw in the original Destiny. But what are your thoughts as someone who didn't really want to get invested into it before, but now looks like maybe that it's kind of looking the other way around?
I don't know, man. I'm not a big fan of these massive online games. Like if I can play it by myself and I don't have to interact with for me, like, gaming is a very personal experience. Unless I'm playing like Halo Online or something, unless I want to play the multiplayer, I would rather play it by myself. And with Destiny, I know you have to be on a network with other players. Some of the missions you actually have to have people in your party to play. And if I don't have friends that are coaxing me into playing the game, I'm probably not going to pick it up.
Well, one of the reasons why I say that is because the announcement came along is that because Activision and also as well Blizzard are so closely intertwined as a company, but they've always kept their properties apart. Let's go with Overwatch and obviously Warcraft and all that on one side, yet we have Call of Duty and Destiny on the other side. Well, now with the announcement of Destiny 2, and obviously we've seen some gameplay footage out there and whatnot, they, along with that, announced that they're going to have Destiny 2 become part of the Battle.net experience, which most obviously know from playing any Blizzard game that's pretty much out there as far as interacting on an MMO basis. So I ask you, Josh, is this a good maneuver for Destiny 2 as far as becoming actually obviously making it more attractive to you or to anyone out there, to those who don't have that clan, that don't have that set form team, that make it more attractive to the average gamer, and also someone who just wants to have a good experience but doesn't really want to go ahead and team up. For instance, like our good friend now that's become our good friend, Elijah Harrison, aka Plasma Z, since we've gotten to know him a little bit, and he's obviously got his clan that I'm going to be interviewing later this fall before Destiny 2 comes out. They play hardcore on Destiny, but as someone who has, like you and I are just regular gamers to go along, we don't want to play every night the same game and whatnot. We just want to have a great casual experience. Do you think the alignment with Battle.net will actually make it more attractive to casual gamers to playing Destiny 2?
We'll have to see. It's definitely an interesting idea, and there'd be more support that way, and as far as that goes. But the Battle.net, it's all about community. Like that's Blizzard's big thing, is creating an online community. Clans, have people come together, become friends, and play these games together. And it's weird because of the people I know that play Destiny, they don't like Warcraft like most of the people I know. So it's an interesting dynamic. In order for me to like fully examine it, I would have to get on both of those games. I've never played WoW, and I dabbled in Destiny for a few minutes, but it seems like a good decision as far as like tech support goes and having those platforms to turn to. But as far as the gamers go, I think if you're looking to play this game by yourself, it's probably not going to work in your favor. But if you're going to play with friends, it's probably going to be a really great experience for you.
Well, I have a tendency to agree with you on that sense, but I know that Activision is trying to make a more concerted effort to make it a more attractive game to those not willing or not wanting to be a part of a clan, and also wanting to go ahead and have that singular experience. They're trying to make it more story driven, make it a more attractive story, because I know that was obviously one of the main faults of the original Destiny, was trying to build that storyline indeed. So definitely looking forward to seeing if Destiny 2 will fill up more to its promise, because when Destiny came out, there were some real issues with the game itself. They've gone on in the 2+ years, really have done a great job of building something that's attractive to a larger audience now. Now it's with Destiny 2, they need to go ahead and take an even broader step to reach an even larger audience and make it more attractive to a casual gaming scene, and not just have those hardcores support the game entirely, as it seems to have taken place over the past year and a half or so. What are your thoughts on the Destiny 2 as far as, do you think Destiny 2 is going to be something that is more approachable and more attractive to the casual gamer, and not just strictly relegated to the hardcores that are out there that have been playing Destiny 2 and supporting the game for so long? Tell us your thoughts right now, or whenever you can, on popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Plus also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanican Media, and Game Source on Facebook and Twitter as well. Let's see that. Okay. And we're back for the final segment of the Pop Culture Cosmos. My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. I'm here along with my good friend. He's the man, the myth, the legend behind Humanican Media It's Josh Pederson. Just want to make sure everybody out there knows that we're also on Friday nights on the Podcast Radio Network, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, with the PCC Multiverse. And Josh, along with that, there's a lot of great things going on with Humanica Media. So can you let everyone know out there what's going on with your great project and your great experience known as Humanica Media?
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff, a lot of things, a lot of podcasts for you to listen to and videos for you to watch. But I'll talk about what's coming out this week. We have a brand new Topicocalypse, which is my newest brainchild. Whether or not people like it, we'll have to wait and see. But definitely check it out and give me your feedback. I would love to hear it. We got a new Super BS coming at you, and a new episode of What About This? So we're, as always, we're keeping busy, full steam ahead, and all that good stuff.
Now, is the What About This coming out this week, or are you taping it later this week?
I'm taping it on Saturday, and then you will hear it Monday night.
Oh, that's awesome. So that just can't wait for that, indeed, because What About This has been gaining a lot of ground and a lot of traction. Actually, even Adam Carolla himself, one of the masters of the podcast scene, recently liked the What About This podcast as well. So that's definitely some great news indeed on some upcoming things. Just check it out at always Humanica Media on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. Just, go right up. You'll see all the latest stuff going on, and go right on it, and you'll hear some, and you'll check out some great things indeed coming or currently playing from Humanica Media. Well, there was a couple of great things that we wanted to talk about before we head on out, and I'm going to say the best one for last, because I know Josh is on pins and needles wanting to pester me on exactly my thoughts on certain movies. So I mentioned it earlier, but we'll save that for last. I want to talk to you about, speaking of movie franchises, and I know your eyes are rolling as we say this, but there's another movie franchise that's going around, and that there's a film company out there that's trying hard to push it again. They're trying to take that goodwill that Marvel's sending them their way in working with Spider-Man and all that, and they're trying to take that ball and run with it by creating their own movie universe. We've talked about it before, about some of the possibilities that for movies left us kind of scratching our head, but Venom being a possible movie was kind of maybe on the fence, depending on who they got to play Venom, as far as making me believe, or making the general audience believe, that it could be something worth watching. So we found out that Tom Hardy looks like to be the almost the shoe-in for the actor, if he hasn't been signed already, to lead the Venom part of the Spider-Man franchise for Sony. So I ask you, Josh, what are your thoughts on Tom Hardy being now front and center for the superhero universe, not as Bane, but now as Venom?
I think that Sony's going to bury themselves. I'm not very excited about this. I see what they're trying to do. They're trying to take, since Spider-Man is part of the Marvel universe right now, at least until 2019, which it'd be stupid to not extend that deal. But what they're going to do with Venom is they're going to essentially turn Venom into Spider-Man. So they can't use Spider-Man, so they're going to turn Venom into the anti-hero, and they're basically going to spawn an entire world around Venom. They have their Black Cat, Silver Sable. It'll be cool to maybe finally see Carnage show up in something, but because Venom and Carnage are kind of birds of a feather and whatnot. But I don't think it's a great idea. I mean, it would be a good idea had they had some kind of stipulation that would allow it to maybe not cross into the Marvel cinematic universe, but exist alongside of it, so that they acknowledge each other's existence. They don't necessarily have to be in these films, but you can't have a universe of Spider-Man characters without Spider-Man, but you can't have a universe of Marvel characters without Spider-Man either. So I guess they're all Marvel characters, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Well, with Sony, they're just trying to have they're just going to trying to have their cake and eat it too. Is pretty much
They
what they're
just want
saying.
money. They want money. That's it. Like
Well,
there's no creative interest in this. There's no
well,
like.
Sony's been struggling for years for as far as their movie end of it, and especially after the scandal with all the emails and whatnot. I get that, but the problem is, you're creating this scenario where you're taking all this goodwill that Marvel and Disney are giving you by asking for permission for Spider-Man to be on there, and you, Sony, making the brilliant move of just, hey, you know what? Absolutely, he's in there. Count him in. We're not going to charge you. Supposedly, there's no charge. Supposedly, so somebody might know more about that. If that's the case, then more props to you. But if it just seems like it's now come to the point where now Sony's gotten all this goodwill from Captain America Civil War for Spider-Man being there, and Spider-Man the Homecoming looking really like it's going to hit some decent numbers, if not very, very strong numbers, that they're now trying to already plan this out and before their bed's already made. And Tom Hardy's a great actor, but I'm not sure creating a character around him. And Venom, obviously we know from previous Spider-Man films, and obviously he's somebody that's more well known in the Spider-Man universe than some of the other entities that they're talking about creating as side movies and whatnot, Silver Sable and whatnot. But I don't know. I'm kind of not convinced that this is going to do it. And if it does pan out to be the case, and Venom is going to be, in the Spider-Man movie, that's great, but not, start his own in 2018. I don't know. I'm kind of thinking that this is going to fall flat on its face with Spider-Man movie franchise before it really gets off the ground. Your thoughts?
Well, what has Sony showed us over the years? They showed us that they're capable of making a decent Spider-Man flick, but they're not good at it. They don't execute it. Amazing Spider-Man 1, great. Amazing Spider-Man 2, not so much. So I don't think that this is a great idea. I was hoping that it was just rumor. And the fact that with the Amazing Spider-Man universe, they had so many movies planned, including a movie that centered around Aunt May, just shows that Sony doesn't care about these stories and these characters that we all grew up with and love from reading comic books. They're after a paycheck. That's it. And that greed is going to bury them. And I hope that it does bury them and that the entire property just reverts back to Marvel.
Well, if the first Fantastic Four has to go to Marvel first, then the X-Men, and then Spider-Man. That's the way I think, as far as in the need situation. I think that's what should be done first and foremost. They should get back the Fantastic Four, because that's ruined. That's totally trash at this point in time. Then we should go the X-Men series, because it's a cohesive storyline, is non-existent at this point in time.
And now that Wolverine's dead, nobody's probably going to really care to watch,
unless you're watching Deadpool too.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's kind of, that's barely in the X-Men realm. I mean, he stopped by Charles Xavier's house, the school, obviously, in Deadpool, spoilers, to try and recruit some X-Men and whatnot. And you saw what happened there. There's some little bit of that influence in there, but it really Deadpool can be considered a self-sustaining universe if you really wanted to really bring it down, size it down to it. And the X-Men franchise as a whole, I don't know, it needs a lot of help, but to me at this point in time, Apocalypse was not exactly the greatest thing under the sun. So definitely it needs some work indeed. Although, Fassbender and Lawrence, they're coming back for more, I guess, for another round of it. At least one more. That's what I hear. That's what the latest reports have anyways. So we'll see. Again, this ties around movie franchises. This whole episode ties around movie franchises and the decisions that are made, good and bad alike, as far as the future for all these movie franchises. But whether or not fans will actually support them is another story. And I guess if since I'm living in Vegas, I guess if you have to say either or, as far as if you lay odds against Venom as of this point in time. Obviously, we haven't seen any footage yet and whatnot. Maybe not seeing the kind of success in spurring off a newfound Spider-Man franchise the way Sony wants it to. But then again, you never know. We'll have to wait and see. What are your thoughts on Tom Hardy and Venom being part of a new Spider-Man franchise? Let us know your thoughts. PopCultureCosmos at yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanican Media, and Game Source as well. And remember, if you cannot stay tuned to one of our shows on the Podcast Radio Network for some reason and you want to catch up on the latest Pop Culture Cosmos or PCC Multiverse, you can actually get a hold of our shows anytime at your convenience. You can download it at no extra charge on iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn, Overcast.com, Overcast.fm, Gunna Geek Network, Stitcher Radio, Podcast.com, Mixcloud, the ESO Network, and the Tangibound Network as well. So, for Josh Pederson, whoa.
You've been sidestepping a serious issue here. Because
what could that be, pray tell?
We've been talking about King Arthur, and you've been alluding to some bad thoughts about it. And I love the movie, so I want to know so I can just tell you you're wrong. So please expand on those.
I just want to say, for the record, we've come to know each other, pretty good over the past couple years, and both of us graduating at with our journalism majors at National University. How proud I am of both of us, reaching those heights, and obviously, you being a profound author of the Vendetta Dark series, and also as well the Ghost Toaster series. I just truly have a ton of respect for you as far as an auteur and an author, and just truly appreciate everything that you've done for Pop Culture Cosmos, and also the great things you've done for Humanican Media and Game Source as well. That being said, King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, great movie for if you want to make sure you have that surround sound going, because the audio design and score captured the imagination of, as far as in the senses, for some great listening, as far as just awesome, great listening pleasure. Just couldn't have found many more movies that have been out for quite some time that really just sounded great, and just really just was just awesome to hear.
Yeah, I mean, whatever you're thinking right now, you're wrong. But please tell me.
But then I had to watch the movie, and that was the disappointing part. I will say that they used literally every single CG trick in the book right now, currently, that's available to any major studio. I can see why it cost almost $200 million to make, because they literally had all these toys at their fingertips, and at some point along in the movie, they said, well, let's try this. Let's try this. Let's try this. Let's try this. And some of it worked. Some of it didn't. And it really, those parts were not really that good. But the problem is there was some also very, very hard to follow and shaky camera work that was not necessary. There was some imagery that was maybe was redundant and not needed, that took place of actual storytelling. There were some montages that it would have been great if we actually got storytelling in its place instead of montages, especially near the beginning. And just really just wasn't the greatest movie experience. And my wife said it best. This was not the King Arthur Legend of the Sword that she was expecting. I think that's probably the best way to say it. It wasn't the greatest. It wasn't the King Arthur Legend of the Sword that I was expecting either. Obviously, they wanted to try to put more of a modern spin on it. And Jude Law was a little bit low. Jude Law was very low key in the movie. That's all I can say. He almost sounded very depressed throughout the entire film. he could have been animated a little bit more, maybe if as the main evil interest in the movie. But Charlie Hunnam did okay, but wasn't really. He was really had to go force his way to be smart aleck through the entire picture. The chemistry that he had with the mage really wasn't there. He tried to make it there, but really just wasn't there at all. There was a decision later in the movie that had me scratching my head that Jude Law made that would really have anybody scratching their head on why he did it. And just unfortunately was just not the experience I was hoping for. So I'm going to have to disagree with what you're saying. But then again, you said I'm wrong. So say la vie.
I mean, we'll agree to disagree, and then I'm just gonna say that you're wrong. But no, I mean, I get what you're saying. I know, like I like the montages. I like the Guy Ritchie-ness that was brought to the film, but there are a lot of things.
But I think he used the montages early in the film to go in the way of story. Okay, let's cut right to this. Okay, now he's an adult. And that's,
okay. No, I see that part, but I did like the montage parts a lot, where it had like where he's replaying the day. He had the fast dialogue going. He's like, so me and the boys went down to this, and like I love those parts. Like that's classic Guy Ritchie. Like I love Snatch, love Lock, Stock, but you know, there were aspects of it. I didn't go in expecting it to be anything. I just kind of went in wanting to be entertained by it. And yes, there was parts of the storytelling that could have been done a lot better. I don't think they should have planned on elaborating the story with Charlie Hunnam and the Mage in, you know, whatever the following two movies would have been had this been successful. They should have just written it as a standalone and seen if people liked it. This is a really weird role for Jude Law to play, but I mean, I liked it, man. I liked it better than Alien Covenant. I'm not saying that it's a great, like, in my top 10 favorite movies by any means, but it, you know, it entertained me, and I didn't find any like things about it that really angered me. But
well, it didn't anger me either. I just didn't think it was good. The interplay between him and the Mage, was obviously supposed to be something there that was more, but it just either got cut out or was just, you know, forgotten about or dropped dead later on. And
yeah, I mean, it was an interesting take on a story that we have seen over and over and over again, at least in my opinion.
It was a different take, all right. I will give that to you. But I think, and obviously they were trying to give it a more modern feel, but in the process, I think they lost a lot of individuals maybe that were looking for something different. Plus, like I said, as I mentioned to you, you know, in the notes there, that just some puzzling decisions that were made that I don't know. You know, spoilers. I want to, you know, let's break it down. Spoilers, because I don't think many people are going to actually watch it now left in the theater. Why did he learn kung fu?
There was an Asian man on the set, so why not?
What does that have to do with King Arthur?
Hey, the streets of London are intense, man. I don't know. Guy Ritchie is just he likes that kind of thing. Why was there, you know, kung fu type stuff in Sherlock Holmes? It's all like there's every one of his movies has had some sort of aspect of a fighter.
And I know he likes to use Jude Law in his films, obviously, you know, from his success with Sherlock Holmes, but I don't know if there was just some issues I had throughout the picture and whatnot. And I mentioned the note as far as to really go into spoilers. There was a decision that was made by Jude Law later in the film that just, you know, there was two individuals he could have let go and let go one and not the other, but letting go the one that just like the one that can actually affect your eventual outcome and you staying on as king and you let that individual go was troubling and puzzling. And then what happened to the Mage Society as a whole, it's barely mentioned or barely glossed over as far as that's concerned. So it's just a lot of troubling issues because I think they were too concerned about making it look like a music video half the time more than they were trying to actually create an entire narrative.
Remember too that they had planned this out for 3 movies. Like the outline was supposed to go over 3. So I think they were planning on expanding on a lot of these stories in 2 or 3, which they probably won't ever get the chance to do now unless you know, digital and DVD Blu-ray sales skyrocket. But They we talk about franchises. They're planning too far ahead instead of worrying about what's going to get people hooked into the first one.
Definitely, indeed. Couldn't agree with you more. And I think that's a great way to end the entire theme of today's show on the trouble with movie franchises, on how to do it right and how to do it, in the case of King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, to do it a way that may not be in the best interest of the movie audience. Although you'll disagree with me, Josh.
Right, because you're wrong, but continue.
Okay, fair enough indeed. So, excuse me. So for Josh Pederson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise here in the pop culture cosmos. We thank you for listening, and here's hoping you have yourself a great day.